Help me grow, fast or slow, as long as I know you're digging for gold. Help me learn, soft or stern, as long as I know you're digging for gold. Life's a movie, the ultimate trip. You should have been told you'd be digging for gold. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Digging for Gold. I'm Dan Goldberg, as you probably know. Don't forget, subscribe to us on YouTube at Dan.Goldberg, Instagram at Dan.Goldberg, and also at Digging for Gold at TikTok and Spotify. Today, for episode 67, we're going to teach you some things that you probably, hopefully, some of you know of public adjusters, but I would think that a lot of you don't understand the concept of what a public adjuster does and how it could help you when you have problems with your home, if there's disasters with your home and your land. And we have an expert here, a public adjuster premier, Tim Ogara. We just had Melissa Lee Ogawa on 66, and here we have Tim Ogara.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.
It's great having you here, Tim.
Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Yeah. So tell me, how did you get into being a public adjuster? And then we'll get into what a public adjuster does.
Sure.
Okay.
So I used to work for Nationwide Insurance as a claims adjuster, working on behalf of Nationwide,
Right.
and I handled homeowner claims. And I was young at the time, probably mid-20s, and so I would go out and handle claims, and some of these homeowners would have hired a public adjuster to represent their interests in the claim. So instead of me dealing with that homeowner, I had to deal with their public adjuster. And that public adjuster's job was to maximize their claim, and my job was to follow the policy and pay them what I could, you know?
Right.
So at the time, I met a lot of these public adjusters who I didn't think were very well read in the policy. I don't think they really knew the policy quite well. It was more of a shouting match back then. It's a lot more, the level's risen quite a bit since then. And I thought to myself, you know, this is something I could do. Instead of working for a big company, I wanted to go work for homeowners and try to help people make sure they were taken care of when they had a disaster or a problem at their house.
It's interesting because business is business,
Mm-hmm.
and you know that the insurance companies want to minimize their payout.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
It's
For
their duty to
anything.
their insureds, or to their stockholders, I mean.
Yeah, exactly. And they're a business that has to make a profit and maximize their profit. The public adjuster, on the other hand, is helping the homeowner
Exactly.
or property owner maximize their return.
Yeah,
So that
for
they
sure.
can get as much done on the property as possible.
Absolutely,
Right?
yeah. And you know, a lot of it really is trying to just make sure we fully evaluate the damages in the house. You know, it's easy for an insurance company adjuster to walk through a house quickly and not see all the damage, or simply write for the obvious damage.
Yeah.
We want to take our time and really evaluate it to make sure we're seeing everything. And the more you see, the more the money the claim becomes.
Correct. Well, that makes perfect sense, obviously. So I got to tell you a personal story. We had some damage done to our house. It was a storm, a wind, lots of wind and everything else. And all of a sudden you see things in the roof and all kinds of stuff happened. And I was talking to my wife and she said, don't you do anything until you call a public adjuster.
Smart lady.
Very smart lady. I'm glad I married her. Honey, I love you. So I said, well, how about if, nope, you call a public adjuster. And I went and Googled public adjusters near me.
Okay.
And guess whose name came up with all kinds of likes and reviews? It was Tim Ogara. Okay.
Good to hear.
Yeah, he had a lot of great reviews. So I called TSO Adjustment Services, right?
Yeah.
And Tim, I left a message. Tim called me back. And 2 days later, he came over and he went, look at all this. I did have a lot of damage to my house and my garage. And then you got to work.
That's what we do, sure. We reviewed your policy. We took a look at the damages. We contacted the insurance company. We set an appointment with the field adjuster from your insurance carrier. We met him out there. We went through all the damages with them, put together our own estimate of what we felt the damages were.
Right.
That's what we submitted to your carrier, and that's what we negotiated off of. And I think you would agree that at the end it all worked out.
It did. It did. And they came out, you came out, you walked through the property together, okay? It was not like you just sent them pictures and stuff like that.
No. It's very hands-on.
Yeah. And one of the things that was quite evident to me, and we talked about this, and my wife reiterated it because she had some problems in our past residences before we were married, and she used a public adjuster, and one of her good friends is a public adjuster who's out of state, and she said, don't talk to the insurance company, right?
Well,
She said, let the public adjuster handle everything.
that's just what we do. It just
Yeah.
keeps it clear. It's unfortunate, but some of and everybody's different, right? There's good adjusters, there's bad adjusters on the insurance company side.
Right.
And unfortunately, if you were to say something that they can misinterpret it to be a negative comment that would negatively hurt your claim, some will use that against you. Some would overlook it, but you don't know. So if you've hired someone to represent your interests, let's let them do their job.
Yeah, it's sort of like putting your foot in your mouth when you're going to court and your lawyer says, why did you say that?
Right.
You let me, that's why I'm here. I'm here to handle your case.
Right.
So you're like a property lawyer kind of person. Not really.
Not really.
But that's
That's what we
it is.
focus on, just damage to your property. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you got into the business, okay, how did you tell people? How did you market yourself? It's like you went from doing it for the insurance company.
Exactly.
Now
Yeah.
you're doing it for the people.
Yep. Yeah. That was a scary time, I got to tell you.
I'm
You know,
sure.
when I was at Nationwide, every morning they'd walk in and drop files on my desk, and they were my claims to handle. You know, when you go off on your own, no one's dropping files on your desk.
Yeah. So what was that
Right?
like?
It was, honest to God, it was very scary. It was very scary. I had known some roofers and plumbers, and these are people that come across people that have damage to their house, and we'd work out referrals. I'd refer
Right,
some of
sure.
my customers. So it was a kind of a sphere of influence type marketing campaign, trying to get as many roofers and plumbers I could meet to market and get my name out so they could pass along my name to potential
Wow.
customers.
Wow.
And then I would call on everybody you can imagine. I mean, I literally would drive around the city because that's where the houses are concentrated the most. And if I saw a roofing crew putting a roof on, I'd go up and knock on the door. If I saw someone with a hot water heater out on their curb, I'd go up and knock on the people's door. I'd say, hey, did you have a flooded basement?
Wow.
That's what I did. I don't get to do that as much as I used to, but I actually enjoy it. It was actually fun. I would go to Home Depot or Lowe's or a plumbing supply house and and have flyers made up and hand them out to flyers and roofers or plumbers or electricians or whoever.
That's great. That's the beauty of America.
Yeah.
You can just start your business. You get, you're in the organization and you take a test or something. You're licensed by the
Yep,
state
licensed
of
by the
Pennsylvania.
state for sure.
If somebody calls you in New Jersey,
I'm licensed by state of New Jersey as well.
You are?
Yeah, I've been doing this over 35 years now, 34 years, something
Wow.
like that. Been licensed for Pennsylvania the whole time, licensed in New Jersey for probably, I don't know, at least 30 years now, I would have to think.
what's the craziest things you've seen?
Oof, probably it's disgusting to say, but the aftermath of violent events, shootings, that type of things. That's, or if God forbid somebody expires in their home, it's not pretty. Not pretty.
No.
Causes quite a bit of damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't just hire ServPro to come clean that stuff up. You got to get very expensive, very specific type of cleaning companies to clean it out before you can even put it all back.
It's interesting because I didn't realize that. Okay, it's a good point. So somebody, I like the term you use, expires. They are not living anymore. They're dead, right? And they pass in the home, and I think some of us have experienced that, okay? It just happened across the street from us. How does that impact a public adjuster? I mean, because there's odors,
fluids. It becomes a bit of an explosion, so it
Right.
spreads,
Yeah.
and all the fluids tend to go down. And if you're on the second floor of your house, it will eventually leak through to the first floor of the house. It's rather
yeah,
nasty. Yeah,
It is
that's
nasty.
probably, but that would probably be the craziest type of claims I handled. And the other one that comes to mind is I literally, if you remember, a couple years ago, they were having a lot of riots in Philadelphia. I can't even recall off the top of my head what the riots
Oh,
were
I
from.
remember it. Yeah, yeah.
So-
breaking into stores.
Yeah.
Breaking through windows.
I had
yeah.
just finished a theft claim for a business on Germantown Avenue, and I'm watching the news, and there's this building, and people broke in, and next thing you know, the thing catches on fire. They actually caught the building on fire. And I sat sitting there telling my wife, that's a customer of mine. And as I'm saying, that's a customer of mine, my phone rings. And
Wow.
he's calling me saying, Tim, or actually texting me, Tim, I need you again. As I'm watching his store burn. It was it was surreal.
You know, it's funny because I never, and I said this earlier, I never thought of public adjusters in that way. I always thought of wind, rain, hurricanes, okay, but not crime,
Yeah, sure.
people dying.
Yeah. The crime, there's a popular method of criminals like to go on a Philadelphia flat roof, or anywhere, doesn't matter. A flat roof, they actually will cut a hole in the top of the roof, 3 foot by 3 foot hole in the roof, and then drop down and clean the place out. And that causes damage to the building.
Right.
This gentleman I was talking about, his theft claim, it happened to rain that night. After he got robbed,
Oh my God.
it rained and the store flooded out. Guy couldn't have had worse luck.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Did you handle stuff during Hurricane Sandy?
Sure did. Yep. All
Well-
down the Jersey Shore, every shore point we were in.
What was that like?
It was devastating. It was really devastating. This toughest part of that was the human emotion, the human loss was just so difficult. It was more being a therapist than an adjuster, because the people were just so devastated. And one of the sad things about that type of claim is your regular homeowner's insurance does not cover that. You need to have a standalone flood policy for the damage to your house to be covered.
What?
And
Really?
Yeah, and the nature of the world, the way it works is if you've owned your house for 30, 40, 50 years, you own it outright, you don't have a mortgage, nobody's making you have a flood policy. If you're young and you just bought the house, or I shouldn't say that, but if you just bought the house and you have a mortgage on it, you're going to be forced to have a flood policy. So what we found is a lot of the younger people had flood policies, and a lot of the very old people did not have a flood policy.
They had
and there was
nothing.
nothing, there was no assistance we could even offer.
Oh, my
It was
God.
devastating. So, but that cut a wide swath all through New Jersey. Yeah, that was
Oh,
terrible.
geez, I didn't think about that. So all those people just lost everything.
Lost everything. Yep, had about 3 foot of water go right through their house.
Wow. That's crazy. So you got into that. So you're working in Jersey. I never thought of criminal activities, as I said. What happens when you go to that place that was robbed and burned and destroyed? What do you do?
First thing first, you got to look at the policy. You got to go through their specific policy to determine what all their coverages are, especially on a commercial policy because it's so specific.
Right.
A lot of the stores, a lot of commercial policies are a la carte, so they can pick and choose what they want. So you really got to see what do they have
Right.
in terms of loss of income coverage, stock, business personal property, building damage. You need to know all that. Once you know that, then you look at all the damages, and you're going to evaluate all the building damage, all the business personal property damage, and you're going to look at the loss of income. If they're out of business for 6 months, well, what kind of money did they lose? So you got to get a forensic accountant involved to figure that nut out.
Wow, right. You get a forensic accountant, and then you get also contractors. It's a
So-
lot of work.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of work. So no, we don't actually do the work. We're not contractors. We negotiate and get you
Right.
the highest settlement. The homeowner or business owner gets the money, then they hire the contractor.
Right.
Now we can work hand in hand with their contractor as they move forward, but it's the insured's obligation and duty to get the contractor.
Yeah.
Because it's their
was
claim,
thinking-
you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, it's their claim. But all these things. Now, as you're talking, I'm thinking, There are people out there right now watching this, okay, who never thought about a public adjuster.
Oh, I can assure you, sure.
Why is it that, like, public adjusters are, and I think I'm a relatively intelligent human being, and we've heard about public adjusters, but when something happens, people just call the contractor and look at their insurance policy and say, okay. And then the insurance company says, no, I'm not paying for that.
Right. Okay. Well, remember, the homeowner sees 1 billion commercials a year from the multiple companies telling you how great they are. And all you got to do is give us a call, and they just can't wait to give you money until it actually happens and you find out that it's not the way it works. But
that's right.
But that's what they think. That's what the homeowner believes, because that's what they see day in and day out.
So why?
Famous quarterback telling you what a great company they are.
It's true.
Right? Nobody's out there advertising public adjusters during the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So why don't public adjusters advertise? Why isn't there there's a public adjuster association, but the public relations, the marketing is not great for public adjusters.
You're right. I agree. It's really not.
Basically, I could say it sucks.
Yeah. Okay. I'd agree with you. Yeah, I'd say the majority of public adjusters are in the Philadelphia marketplace and region. I mean, surrounding suburbs are mainly small businesses. There's not huge entities that have hundreds of adjusters that have the kind of money to do that advertising. And I'll be honest with you, I've been, like I said, over 30 years I've been doing this. I've advertised. I've spent tons of money on advertising. It doesn't resonate. It doesn't land. I've tried billboards, radio commercials, TV commercials, bus stop benches, you name it.
Really?
We tried it all. And there's not a connection, unless like your wife says to you, get a public adjuster.
Yeah.
Or you go to work and their coworker says, hey, make sure you get a public adjuster. Then it clicks,
Yeah, which is weird, because I know I said this. I really don't think the public knows what a public adjuster is, or that a public adjuster exists. It's like.
Well, hopefully we can change that today. Some of your viewers seeing this.
Yeah, because Jake at State Farm, he's doing a whole other thing, right?
Right.
It's. Wow. Okay. Folks, listen, Tim, remember, O,G-A-R-A, TSO.
TSO.
Yeah. So if you have any problems, I'm gabberflasted, which is even worse than flabbergasted, because what do you do to make sure people know that you're around? How do you get most of your business?
At this point, being in business as long as I am, most of my business comes from referrals. I've done claim for you. You refer me to your brother, your sister, your mother's referred you. That's how the majority. I'd say 50 to 60% of my business every month is coming as a referral from an old customer, repeat business, or an old customer who referred me to someone else. And we still advertise. We still try. We do the internet, the Google searches.
The Google search made it worthwhile for me, but I typed in near me. Mm-hmm. Like, where are you located?
Our office in Fort Washington.
Fort Washington. Mm-hmm. Wow. And that, if the fort itself has a problem, Fort Washington, the fort, they would call you.
Let's hope so.
New roof. New roof. That roof's been there since Washington.
The new bar called the Fort, you mean?
No.
The old Friendlies?
I mean, Fort.
Oh, gotcha.
Wait, is there a new bar?
There's a new restaurant and bar called the Fort. And
Where is it?
Do you remember the Friendlies on Pennsylvania Avenue across from the Mercedes dealer?
Sure.
Yeah, so that Friendlies has become
the
Fort.
Yeah, I passed it many times.
Yeah. It's nice. They did a nice job with it.
Yeah, my wife and I, the same wife, said, call a public adjuster. We always say we should go there. We should try it out.
Great bar.
It is?
Yeah.
You've been there?
Yeah.
How's the food?
I've lived 2 blocks from there.
How's the food?
It's good. Good bar food.
It is
really good burger, something like that. Does it nicely.
We'll try it out. So, okay. So now you got a public adjuster. Mm-hmm. Okay. Go through the process of you're looking at my policy. That's the first thing you said. Let me see your policy. Okay. What do you look for in the policy?
I want to make sure the policy's active, right? Make sure it's still in force. Can't tell you how many times people think they have a policy in force only to find out it canceled 6 months ago. It's a terrible thing.
What happens? How many times have you seen that?
Oh my goodness, too many to count.
Really?
So, yeah, for sure.
They let it lapse?
Yeah. Well, most people roll their insurance premium into their mortgage payment, and then the mortgage company disperses the money to the insurance company,
Right.
Once a year. And there's been plenty of foul-ups with that, Yeah, or if you don't have a mortgage and you're paying it yourself, people forget and they don't pay it. It happens.
That's
it's sad.
why you should have auto pay.
Yes, I would highly encourage auto pay.
Auto pay.
Yeah, but so we want to make sure that it's enforced. We want to make sure that it's covering the property I'm standing in. You'd be surprised how many times people have a policy on a different address.
What?
Was that an agent mistake? Could be. But if you have a claim, you want to make sure all your T's are crossed and I's are dotted, right?
Let's step back. If you're living in a house and you take out an insurance policy and the insurance company charges you for that house, but the policy is mistakenly written for another house, like a different address. Instead of it being 1283, it's 1383.
Common example?
What?
You live at 123 Mockingbird Lane and you're moving to 123 Chestnut. Well, they keep the address of the old house on the new policy. And it's a mistake. And it can eventually get cleared up and the claim could get covered, but it's another step that you got. It's another hurdle of coverage you got to get over.
Did you ever run into one where they said, I'm sorry?
So it wasn't like that. It was the house was a rental property, and the homeowner bought the insurance and put the insurance in his name, but the rental property was in an LLC he had established name. So the insurance company tried to make the argument that the homeowner did not have an insurable interest in the home, therefore the policy was void. So that eventually we referred that to an attorney, and that was resolved after that. But they eventually got paid, but it took quite a bit. But they were standing on that denial though, because of what I would consider
What are the other things that you see?
So I want to make sure the policy's in force. I want to make sure the property address is correct. I want to make sure the homeowner I'm dealing with is the insured. Lots of times I'm dealing with Steve Smith. Well, Steve Smith's not the insured. Maybe his grandfather was the insured. Like, I need to make sure I'm dealing with the insured.
Wait a minute. Let's go back on that. So you have this property, okay, and you're looking at the insurance plan.
The declarations page.
Yeah.
That's the page that lays out all the facts of your policy.
Yep. And it has somebody else's. It has your grandfather's name on it.
Maybe your grandfather died and left the house to his grandson Steve.
Right.
3 years ago. Well, the insurance doesn't need to honor that policy because they sold the policy to Grandpa.
Damn. Yeah. And you can't resurrect Grandpa. It's 3 years is too long.
I do not handle that.
Yeah. I bet. So wait a minute now. So you got to make sure that you look at your insurance policy, folks, and make sure that everything is correct.
Absolutely. You're paying a lot of money for it. Check and make sure it's correct for sure.
You are, because Jake, right?
Jake's not checking.
Jake's not checking. Or any football guy selling stuff.
Right. They're cashing that commercial fee, endorsement check, right? And then they forget all about you. Yeah, so we want to make sure that we're dealing with the named insured,
And that's the first
declarations page, yeah.
Declaration page.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then from there, I'm going to check the form of coverage you have. In the state of Pennsylvania, they sell 8 different policies. Insurance companies could sell you one of 8 different policies. I want to determine which one of those 8 you have. Okay. Once I know which one you have, I know about 95% of your coverages just from knowing the policies.
But why are there 8 different policies?
So the Insurance Commissioner Department of Pennsylvania has authorized 8 different policies that insurance companies can legally sell in the state of Pennsylvania.
But what are the differences between?
So there'd be levels of coverage. The most basic is what's called an HO1. That's the most basic, most restrictive policy you can buy. It's basically commonly referred to as a standard fire policy. So if you have a fire on the property, you're covered. But if you have a broken pipe that floods your house out, you've got no coverage.
What about if your roof blows off because of a hurricane?
If a roof blows off on HO1, that would be covered, yes.
Right.
But if you have a heavy 3-inch rainstorm and the roof leaks, okay,
Not covered.
that's not covered. The roof physically has to be a wind-created opening for there to be coverage on an HO1 policy. Then you have an HO2. An HO2 is very similar to HO1, but it gives you that coverage for plumbing broken pipes.
Okay.
Then you have an HO3, and the HO3 is one of the most comprehensive policies. That's the one that majority of people have. That's the one you should have.
Okay.
Then you have an HO4, and HO4 is for tenants. If you live in an apartment and you're just insuring your contents, you want to buy yourself an HO4.
Okay.
And HO5, and HO5 is like an HO3, but it's made for newly constructed homes. So, and it gives you some better coverages than an HO3.
Okay.
HO6 is if you own a condo. You own a condo, you need a condo policy. HO6 is your guy. There's no HO7, don't know why. Then there's an HO8. HO8 is like an HO1, but it's worse if you can believe it because it settles everything at the depreciated value. Meaning, if let's say it costs $10,000 to put your roof on today, but your roof's 20 years old, they're going to take it down to 80% of depreciation and give you a whopping $2,000.
That sucks.
It sure does.
Because your new roof is going to be.
It's still going to cost you $10,000.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what I want to know. I want to know what form of coverage you have.
So it's HO1, not to be confused with HOA.
HOA would be homeowners association.
That's correct. So, wow. So HO3 is the
most commonly one, yeah.
And
It's
the best.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you know that? No, I didn't know it either, Peter.
Well, now you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to know what form you have. And then after that, I want to know what kind of dollar coverages you have. You know, let's say you're insured, your house insured for $100,000. And you're showing me a fire that burned the whole house out, and I'm seeing $300,000 worth of damage. I'm going to tell you, you don't need me. I'm like a blind man can adjust his claim and get you the full $100,000 limit.
Wow.
Right? So I want to know what your coverages are. I want to make sure there's enough money in the pot that we can go after this and do right by my customer.
So you're out $200,000 in that case.
In that example, yeah.
So do any of these policies, automatically adjust the cost of living?
They do. For inflation, they should increase up. They usually bump up maybe 2-3% every year for.
They do.
So let's say your house is insured for $200,000. Next year it'll be insured for say $204,000, and et cetera, et cetera.
But that doesn't take into consideration the cost of the escalation in price for housing.
Yeah, yes and no. There's also some riders you can add onto your policy that give you an additional charge for replacement costs should you need it.
Okay. All right. So you know all that stuff.
Do my best.
Yeah. What about a train? We hear the train. Train goes off the track. Yeah, they call you?
Unless it hits a house, no. It's funny. I get a lot of calls from people that have car accidents, and they're unhappy with their car claim, and they'll call me and say, hey, I need an adjuster. And in Pennsylvania, we're only licensed to handle property damage to a house or a commercial building. So I can't help, nor do I know anything about a car accident claim.
Oh, so who handles that?
Typically a body shop will kind of act like your public adjuster.
Okay.
They'll look at the repair, see what needs to be done, and argue on your behalf to the insurance company. It's kind of the way that goes.
So this is so interesting now, because that the insurance company is trying to pay as little as possible outside of what you've actually, stated in the policy, right? So they're trying to say, that's not true, and we go out, nah, you don't need. And the adjuster's saying, oh yes, you do, right?
Yeah.
And look what that did, and so how, when the guy comes out.
Mm-hmm. The guy meaning the insurance adjuster?
Yeah, the guy, the woman,
Okay.
And you're walking them around, right? You follow them like an eagle, okay? You're looking them straight in the eye, and they're going to try to say, oh, that's not bad, right? And you're going, what are you talking about? Look inside.
You basically it's our job to exhibit the damage, basically. So that's what we do. I'm their tour guide. I take them around the claim. I want to point out stuff. I want to engage them in conversation. It's typically not an adversarial situation. If you get someone local who you've known, like I said, I've been doing this over 30 years. I know the majority of adjusters from any insurance company out there. I will say, unfortunately, the last couple of years, not even more than a couple, last 5-6 years, the insurance companies have given a large majority of their claims to outside vendors to come in or people from out of state for whatever reason, they don't have enough staff locally, and they bring in adjusters from other parts of the country. So you don't have that same camaraderie with someone you know for 20, 30 years. But again, still, I don't make it an adversarial event. It's simply stating facts and then giving the proof to document my position.
Do the insurance companies have adjusters working for them like you were?
Yes.
Or do they bring in?
They do both. So a bigger insurance company like the large ones you see advertised on Sunday at NFL season, they have their own staff adjusters, actual employees. Okay.
Right.
But even a company like that will still go and out hire what's called an independent adjuster.
Right.
Independent adjusters are adjusters that work for the insurance companies. They sound independent, but they're getting paid every day by the insurance company.
Yeah. So
they
they're trying to lessen the expenses.
Well, they're following the rules that the insurance companies put on them on how to handle a claim.
Yeah, and it's not adversarial, and I'm not saying the insurance companies are wrong or the adjusters are wrong. It's their job.
It's their job. That's the bottom line. That's their job. You know?
So, as you're doing this, I'm thinking of you're in Pennsylvania,
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Mostly the Philadelphia area.
Philadelphia surrounding suburbs.
You ever go out to further, like Lancaster County and places like that?
I try not to. It's just so far. You know, I mean, I can get into a claim and, you know, next thing you know, I need 10, 12 visits for whatever reason.
Really?
If it's 2 hours each way, it adds up quick, you know.
It does. So you have to adjust for that. That was a pun. But anyway. So, okay. If somebody wants to get into this business, then we'll talk about how somebody gets a hold of you, okay? What do they have to do? Like, somebody's sitting out there and they think, you know, I think, well, maybe I'd like to do that. Like, what do they do?
Yeah. Well, most people that become public adjusters now have either worked for an insurance company or they worked for some type of mitigation company, like a SERPRO type company that they get their hands on a lot of claims. So they kind of get experience to claims, those guys. And they would need to apply to the state of Pennsylvania or whatever state they want to work in. There's an application you fill out, and you have to get bonded. You have to have I think it's a $40,000 bond. And you have to pass a test, an insurance test. Just like insurance agents or brokers have to take a test, public adjusters have to take a test.
So that $40,000 bond costs you how much?
I have someone in my office who takes care of that for me. Honestly, I forget.
But it doesn't cost you $40,000.
No, not at all.
No, you're bonded for $40.
Yeah,
that's insurance.
God, I forget.
I want to make that clear to people.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
You know, so
I'd say it's a couple $100. I'm not 100% certain. It's been a while.
So you got into this. How long have you been doing it?
34, 35 years.
How do you like it?
I love it. It's great. I love helping people. I love meeting people. I love helping people.
It is cool.
It's great. It's getting tougher and tougher. I will say that.
Why? Why do you think?
Because, like I said before, the insurance companies they're bringing in more out-of-state adjusters or third-party inspectors. They actually will have people meet me that are not even adjusters. They're glorified photographers. And they take pictures of stuff, and then they send the pictures back to some inside adjuster in Texas or Idaho. And now I'm dealing with someone in Idaho who's never even been to the site. So trying to negotiate with someone who's no physical presence at the loss, you know, it's very difficult. It adds another whole challenge to the claim handling.
And as you're talking, I'm thinking, well, okay, somebody's in Idaho or wherever. They don't even know what it's like in Pennsylvania.
Especially when we had a tornado a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And the whole neighborhood's devastated.
Right.
Devastated. And someone's saying to you, well, how'd all those siding blow off? And I'm like, well, come on out and you'd see it.
Yeah.
If you got out from behind your desk, come on out and take a look.
Right, but you're in Idaho.
Right, exactly.
And it's funny because I remember when that tornado came because I lived in that area. And it was like, that was years ago.
Yeah, I lost my house.
You did?
My neighborhood was ground zero on that.
Well, mine was different then. I lived in Gilbertsville.
Oh.
In Limerick, they had a bad one there.
Oh, God, I remember that. There was an adjuster from Nationwide who lived in that neighborhood, and I remember seeing her car got flipped upside down. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was
That was a while ago. That one was a while ago.
Missed my house. I had a farm.
Good to hear.
But driving back there was like, oh, whoa, you know? And you bring up a great point because I remember, you remember Moore, Oklahoma? M-O-O-R-E, I think it is. suburb of Oklahoma City.
Okay.
They had a tornado. It's basically Tornado Alley out there. And I was talking to a friend, and she said, it's like, it's really, really bad. And her daughter was out there, and she was monitoring to make sure her daughter was okay. And I went out there, and I remember driving higher up for some reason. Maybe I was in a building or whatever. And I looked down, and it was like an atomic bomb had gone off. Mm-hmm. And it was about a mile-wide strip of devastation.
It's terrible to see.
And when it gets that bad, and it was leveled, adjusters must. What's that like?
Oh, it was one of the most challenging things I've done in my entire 30-plus career. It was close to home, so every customer, every neighbor hired me. So not only was I doing claims, inundated with claims, extremely large claims, they were friends and neighbors.
Yeah.
So personally, you want every customer to be beyond happy. You want them to be ecstatic with your work, right? It was very difficult. Quite difficult.
You lost your home.
I did, yes. Right, while I was dealing with trying to put my house back together.
Wow. So when something like that happens, no matter where it is, how do you find your policy?
Yeah, most times when it's something like that, you're not even going to find your policy. You're going to call the 800 number and get the claim. We call the claim in, and then we request a certified copy from the insurance company for that homeowner, so we can get in and look at it, because the homeowner's got way too much going on their plate to do that. Yeah, that
must be a total freak out.
It really is, yeah. First things first, you're trying to get people out of there. You're trying to get them to safety, right? So you got to get them a place to live.
Right.
So, you try to get them to hotels or Airbnbs or whatever the case may be, Then you got to let's get the trees off the house. You try to line up vendors to get trees off houses. Then you got to tarp the houses, right? So there's a process you start going through to start trying to make things right. But it's a slow process. It's a long process. We had some of the largest claims in my neighborhood that took well over a year to resolve. And the major carriers, there was one customer especially jumps out. We had a different adjuster on their claim every 30 days. Every month we had a different adjuster.
From the insurance company?
From the insurance company. Someone would come out, look at it, you talk to them, they'd go back, disappear. Next thing you know, someone else would call you, or we wouldn't hear back from them. We'd follow up. And they'd say, "Oh, Bill's gone. Now it's handled by Karen." Well, let's get Karen out. It's just over and over. You can't. I would never believe it was not a purposeful thing.
Yeah.
Not against that customer, but I mean in general, that's their business plan. I feel.
Yeah.
In terms of, because I think an average homeowner would be totally broken down by that and worn out, frankly, by that.
Yeah.
To the point where they say, give me what you're giving me and give up. Yeah. But it's life. It's what we deal with.
Wow. Wow. As you're speaking, I'm thinking Palisades fire.
Mm-hmm. I can't even imagine.
Those people in California who still don't have their houses.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching something. They said one house has been, it's probably more by now, but it was like one house was rebuilt, or they got the permit to rebuild it.
Yeah.
I mean, do you guys fight for the permits too?
So the contractors are more dealing with the permits. So, and then if there's things that come up that change the cost of the job, then we'd get back involved to negotiate the additional funds for whatever that was. That's kind of more of what's like a code upgrade issue. So once the homeowner moves into the fixing the house and they have to deal with local permitting, if there's extra charges for code upgrades, then we get back involved to get them paid for them if they have the coverage for that. There's some policies don't have code upgrade coverage.
Wow. Folks, I hope you're learning something, because this could save you a lot of angst and problems and get you the money you deserve to rebuild or fix up your residence. Now, what happens if I own a house in Pennsylvania or wherever, and I own a shore property down the shore in New Jersey? You get policies for both, right? And nothing changes, right? They'd still call you. You have two properties. Okay, and one gets a flood. And the other gets a tornado. Okay.
Yeah, they can hire me for both. Not a problem.
But I assume you can be a developer, right? And you get policies, right? And you've built 10 houses. Haven't sold any of them, okay? You built 10 houses. And I remember this during the housing crisis. I was out in Dallas, and I was at a community with some friends. They were showing me this community where their family lived, and almost all these houses were empty. Okay? Somebody has to take insurance out for those.
Sure, yeah. Usually the developer will have a builder's risk policy, it's called. It's kind of a specific, it's not as good a policy as, say, you'd have on your home.
Right.
Because yours is a completed product, you're living there. You being in the house every day lowers the risk to the insurance company. If something happens, presumably you're going to be there to nip it in the bud, right?
Right.
When you're building stuff, who knows how often someone's there, right? So it's a
Right.
different type of coverage. It's a very specific niche insurance product.
It is.
But it exists. I mean, the builder would definitely have it.
And then he'd call you if something happened.
Absolutely.
Did anything ever happen like that?
So I don't do a ton of that, to be honest with you. I did a collapse for a building that was under construction in Philadelphia. They were building a Rita's water ice, and they didn't support the two exterior walls properly, and a storm came by, and the whole thing just went down.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, it was a freestanding Rita's water ice?
Yeah, they were putting the water ice in the bottom first floor, and they were building apartments above it. But the owner, he owned the store was for him, for his
Right.
daughter actually. And while they were building the rest of the building, fell over. That was terrible.
Jeez, oh my God. Well, at least they had refreshments,
Yeah, correct.
So, but wait a minute now. So it wasn't constructed properly, right?
That might have been a poor choice of words. It was just at the stage that the building was at, under construction.
Okay.
It was susceptible to a storm that
Okay.
rolled through.
So
and took it
okay, I
down.
got you.
It's probably a better way to say that.
Yeah. So, what happens in that case?
But you get paid to put it back. You got paid to put it back, put them back where they were.
Now, you also know the building codes, I would think, right?
So not as yes and no. There's yes and no. Like the uniform code, we're more familiar with, and certain townships adopt the uniform code. So,
Right.
but other townships may use different codes. So, but it's something that can be looked up on a case by case basis.
Because I remember when Turkey, they had that horrible earthquake,
Okay.
right? And I've been to Turkey many times, and they have this crazy way of building stuff where, and Istanbul it wasn't impacted at the time, but it was other towns. But they build up, and let's say it's a 10-story building. So they build like this, and then they do this and that.
Okay.
Okay, so it's like a reverse L. Okay, and then they have columns here to hold the rest of that stuff up. Whoop. And then they have all these retail stores
Okay.
on the first floor. So that thing is for people to walk under and go into the retail store. You would think that they just have the retail store in the same vertical plane as all the other things, but they don't. And that's what caused all those buildings to collapse, because that stuff went out and the rest of it fell.
Oh, that's tragic.
Yeah. So I would assume that the people who make the codes recognize stuff like that and don't allow it. But have you ever run into a situation where someone built a building that was not in code?
No, honestly, no. I think they're pretty tight around here. I don't know how they do it in Turkey, but around here, I think
in Turkey it was a mess.
I think there's a lot of inspections when they build buildings around here.
Yeah, but
thankfully so.
And let's hope so. But you never know. I mean,
you're right.
That was disastrous.
That's terrible.
Yeah, 40,000 people died or something like 50,000 because the buildings all fell on each other. But anyway, so if you had to give people a bit of advice, okay, about insurance, as you see it as an adjuster, what would you tell them?
Specific to homeowner claims?
Yeah.
Okay. First thing I guess I would say is to take a look at your deductible. A lot of people think they have a $1,000 deductible. Some people think they have a $500 deductible. And then when they actually look at the paperwork, they might have a $5,000 deductible.
That's not good.
Yeah, no, not at all. So definitely want to make sure they should be knowledgeable of their deductible. If they chose a $5,000 deductible and they're comfortable taking on that risk and they have the financial reserves, no problem.
Right.
But if it's a surprise, that's when it's a problem.
That stinks.
Yeah. And unfortunately, what happens is homeowners will get a mailer from the insurance company saying, hey, want to lower your rate? Check this box. And people say, yeah, I want to lower my rate. And they check the box. And they don't realize they just went from $500 deductible to a $5,000 deductible. And it happens more often than you can think of. The other thing about deductibles is a lot of the carriers are implementing what are called wind deductibles. And traditionally, in the past, we've always only had one deductible on your policy. So if you had a $1,000 deductible, it was $1,000 whether it was a fire, a pipe break, a roof leak, whatever you want to call it, across the board the same. Well, now they're implementing split deductibles. So you have $1,000 in my example for a plumbing leak or a fire, but if you have a wind event, then they're going to charge you a percentage of how much they insure your house for. So that could be a rather large money. You could have a $30,000 wind deductible on your house, and most people wouldn't even know it. So double check your deductibles.
What?
Yeah. The insurance companies are getting hit with so many roof claims from these hailstorms across the country. They're trying to find a way to combat paying those. So the way they've come up with is by putting in wind deductibles. Wind and hail deductibles are called.
What is the I should have called you about that. I had some of that hail stuff.
Right.
But now I know. Okay, so the wind and hail deductible, what is the normal percentage?
Well, it's new, so it could be 5%, 10%. Yeah, it's whatever the company wants to implement on it. So you just want to be cognizant of it. And if you see something that you're not comfortable with, speak up to your agent and say, hey, I can't handle that. Give me a more reasonable deductible. Because it's something when you buy the policy, they can address it and change it. But once they sell that policy, it's on there, at least for the term of that year when the policy is good for.
Wow.
So just something to be cognizant of. You want to know what your deductible is. You want to know what your exposure is, like anything else.
Yeah.
Just like if it's health insurance, you want to know what's the max out of pocket you can get stuck with, right?
Yeah.
Well, deductibles on a homeowner policy need to be looked at. The other thing I definitely want to say is make sure you have replacement cost. The replacement cost means they will pay you what it costs to build that house or put that roof on or replace your siding, whatever the case may be, at today's cost.
Right.
Not what's called ACV, actual cash value, which is the depreciated amount. So again, going back to our roof example, if you've got a roof that's 20 years old and it's got a 30-year life expectation, they're going to depreciate the heck out of that roof. You want to make sure you've got the replacement cost. That way you're entitled to get the full amount so you can have the money to replace your roof.
That's kind of crazy because real estate values have appreciated across the board. Mm-hmm. I don't think that there's a maybe there are depreciated areas, but there are, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But most of them have appreciated.
Yeah. So that's more the value I think you're speaking to, whereas this is the value of the cost of replacing something as opposed to purchasing another house.
I get it.
So, and they're saying that there's a useful life for everything. How long is this table going to last? How long is this rug going to last? There's a statistical useful life of it. If you've used up, say, 50% of the life of it, then they're claiming they only owe you, on an actual cash value policy I'm talking about, they only owe you for the remainder 50% you have left. But it's just not something not a risk you want to take. Make sure you have replacement costs,
Wow.
Yeah, and the final thing I would say is if you're going to put in a homeowner's claim, make sure it's worth it. We'll have a public adjuster come out and look at it and make sure it's a viable claim. If it's something that's not covered, it's better that I tell you that, not your insurance company. Because if you call the insurance company, they're going to set it up as a claim. Now you have a claim on your record. You want to be smart about it. You don't want to put in a claim that's not going to be covered, and you don't want to put in a claim that's not financially worth your while, really. Some people, they just don't know. They don't know. So their first inclination is call State Farm, call Nationwide, right?
Yeah.
And not the way to go. Have a set of eyes look at it that can give them some advice to steer them in the right direction. If you're going to put a claim in, we want to make sure it's a valid claim.
Yeah.
So.
And it's not $1,000.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
It's going to cost you, it's going to put a check mark by your name and everything.
Right.
It's like I had a Japanese maple in the back of my house. I loved it. Years ago, somebody offered me a nice amount of money for it. I said, no, I
interesting.
love it. About a month ago, 3 weeks ago, no, 2 weeks ago, my wife said to me, I think that it's dying. So the leaves are dead, okay? I walked out, sure and be golly, it was dead. I said to my wife, I think this thing's dead. She said, well, I think so too, because it has black fungus on it.
Ah.
So I called a tree guy who's like a tree adjuster, okay? And he came out and he looked at it and he said, nothing I can do for you about this. This is dead. But at least I knew.
Now you
It's
know.
like if you said,
Yeah, now you know.
I can't help you, you know?
Yeah.
So what do? Chop it down, call the
Move on.
landscaper, get rid of it.
Yep.
It's sad because I had it all, the whole time I lived there in this beautiful tree.
No, it's tough.
But it is tough.
That's
but,
tough. Yeah.
You know, lost the tree.
It's funny you said that's actually a common reason people call their insurance companies. If a tree comes down and it hits your house, you're probably gonna have a viable claim. But if
Yeah.
a tree comes down and lands in your yard and doesn't do any damage to anything, it's
Right.
not a real viable claim. So,
Yeah, cut the tree out.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, it's like he was trying to pull it out. It was so deep in there. He was trying to pull out the rest of it. Okay, after he cut it down with his truck.
Oh.
Put all the chains on it and everything. You know what happened?
Chains broke.
That's correct.
Wow.
Chains broke. So he
Those
was
are
out there
deep
today
roots.
as I was leaving.
I want to say it was Japanese maple.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty trees. The red leaves.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, now you get to plant a new one,
Yeah, that's true.
and
That's
your
true.
grandkids will check it out.
That's true. I'll be dirt. Maybe they'll put my dirt. They'll sprinkle me around the maple, and they say, "How come the maple looks so good or bad?" They'll say, "Well, it's my pop-up
There you go.
in there." So anyway, so Tim, this has been great. This is what I want you to tell our listeners and viewers. How do they get a hold of you?
Oh, easy. You can Google us, TSO Adjustment Service. We're in Fort Washington,
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Thank you very much. It's true. There's one in Maryland, right? But we're in Pennsylvania. Office numbers 215-886-7440, or you can go online to our website at tsoadjustmentservice.com.
It's great. Tim, man, thank you.
Absolutely. Great
Great.
having you. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
It's great having you here too, and being had. Whatever. Okay.
You got that part out.
No, we keep everything, and we have fun. So here you go, folks. Don't forget, this has been Digging for Gold, episode 67 with Tim O'Gara. Gara, G-A-R-A, and subscribe on YouTube at Dan.Goldberg, at Spotify at Digging for Gold, at TikTok Digging for Gold, and Instagram at Dan.Goldberg, or go to dangoldberg.com and click on the icons at the bottom of the homepage. And remember this, use your mind. If you don't, others will. We'll see you next time on Digging for Gold.